Assalamualaikum Azikin and everyone. In this video, my friends and I will be presenting about the cooperative principle and politeness. Before we begin, I would like to introduce my group members. We have Melissa Herni, Nur Erina, Antasya Fariha, which is me, and lastly, Syed Amir. According to Flower Dew 2012, Grice viewed conversation as the cooperative process, where speakers work together toward shared goals. He introduced this idea as the cooperative principle, which forms the foundation of how communication functions in everyday interactions. Han 2024 adds that beside the cooperative principle, politeness techniques also play an important role. These techniques help speakers behave appropriately in social situations, which make interactions a lot smoother. Let's dive more into the cooperative principle. Now, let's take a look at Grice's famous statement on how people communicate. He says, make your conversational contribution such as is required, at the stage at which it occurs, by the accepted purpose or direction of the talk exchange in which you are engaged. Grice 1989. What this means is that in normal interactions, speakers naturally cooperate with each other. We tend to give information that is useful, relevant, and appropriate for the situation we are in. This cooperation helps guide what kind of contribution is expected at each moment in a conversation. Essentially, Grice is saying that our responses should follow the purpose or direction of the ongoing exchange. And this idea forms the foundation of the cooperative principle, which explains why conversations usually flow smoothly and meaningfully. Grice has divided this main principle into smaller rules called maxims. They are maxim of quantity, maxim of quality, maxim of relation, and maxim of manner.
Firstly, we have the maxim of quality. Grice explained that to follow this maxim, a speaker should not say anything they believe to be false. In other words, we shouldn't make statements that we ourselves think are false. Secondly, this maxim also reminds us not to say anything if we don't have enough evidence for it. So, if we are unsure or we cannot support our claim, it's better not to present it as a fact. Overall, the maxim of quality ensures that communication is based on honesty and reliability. As Riley, 1993, notes, this maxim guides speakers to be truthful during conversation. For situation 1, A asks, is this assignment due tomorrow? B responds, yes, it's due tomorrow at 5 p.m. Our lecturer reminded us this morning. This exchange follows the maxim of quality because B gives information that is true and supported by evidence. B doesn't guess or make assumption. Instead, the response is based on a confirmed fact from the lecturer's reminder. So, the message is accurate, reliable, and trustworthy. We show that B is fully observing the maxim of quality. Let's look at this situation where A says, I just checked the thermometer, it's 34 degrees Celsius outside, it's really hot today. And B responds, yeah, no wonder the air feels warm. In this case, speaker A is clearly following the maxim of quality as the statement he makes is truthful and based on real evidence, which means A actually checked the thermometer before making the claim. Because the information is accurate and comes from a reliable observation, it fits the maxim of quality, which emphasizes being honest and only saying what you have good reason to believe is true. Next, we have the maxim of quantity. This maxim is all about the amount of information we give in a conversation. According to Grice, to follow this maxim, speakers should make their contribution as informative as required, meaning we give enough information for the listener to understand the message. But at the same time, we should not provide more information than necessary. Giving too much detail can confuse the listener or distract from the main point. So, as my 2013 explained, the maxim of quantity ensures that the information we share is appropriate, not too little and not too much. It's about giving just the right amount for the effective communication. For this situation, A asks a very straightforward question. What's the capital of Venezuela? And B simply answers, Caracas. Here, B responds in giving the exact amount of information needed, not too little and not too much. Clearly show maxim of quantity. A asked for the name of capital and B provided the precise answer without adding unnecessary details. So this exchange show how the maxim of quantity works in practice. That is giving just the right amount of information to meet the listener needs. For this situation, A asks, what time does the meeting start? B replies, it starts at 3 p.m. This response clearly follows the maxim of quantity. B gives exactly the information that is A asking for. The starting time. There are no extra detail or unnecessary explanation and nothing important is left out. It's simple, direct, and it provides just the right amount of information needed for the conversation.
Now that Melissa has presented on the maxim of quality and maxim of quantity, I will be taking over this presentation by explaining what is maxim of relation. So Grice has stated that this maxim is about being relevant. Easily put, what it means by being relevant is when somebody says something that is related or relevant to the discussion. As noted by Xiao 2020, when we try to relate one thing to another, it means that we are describing the connection or how they are connected. Xiao added, the purpose of this maxim is to explore how utterances are created by speakers and understood by listeners. For this situation, A and B are working together fixing a car. A asks, "Can I have 3 bolts?" And B immediately responds, "Yes," and passes the bolts. This is a good example of maxim of relation, which focuses on giving information or actions that are relevant to the moment. Since they are in the middle of repairing the car, A needs the bolts right away, and B's response is directly connected to the task they are doing. So, B's reply and action are relevant to the context, showing that the maxim of relation is clearly being followed. Now, let's look at my own example for the maxim of relation. A asks, "What have you studied for tomorrow's grammar test?" And B replies, "I have studied all the adjective rules and other components of grammar." In this conversation, A is asking specifically about what B has studied, and B answers the question directly. Their response is relevant and stays on topic, as B mentions exactly what he has prepared for the test without adding any unrelated information. So, this example clearly shows the maxim of relation being followed because B's answer matches the purpose of A's question. The last maxim that I will be presenting is maxim of manner. What does this maxim do in our conversation? Firstly, Greece has stated that this maxim is functional in avoiding obscurity or uncertainty in our conversation. This means we should not make our messages confusing or difficult to interpret. Not only that, this maxim functions to avoid ambiguity. In other words, our sentences should not have double meanings or unclear interpretations. They must be straightforward and easy to understand. This maxim also encourages us to be brief. We should express our ideas in a simple and concise way without unnecessary complexity. Lastly, Greece reminds us to be orderly. This means our ideas should be presented in a clear, organized, and logical manner so that the listener can easily follow what we are saying. Now, let's look at this situation. When A is asking B for a bolt of size 8, B is answering yes while passing a box of bolts that contains size 8. This shows B has successfully complied with the maxim of manner, as B's response is clear, direct, and free from ambiguity. Instead of giving a vague or confusing answer, B provides the exact item as requested by A. This interaction is brief and straightforward, which reflects Greece's principle of avoiding unnecessary obscurity in conversation. Now, we will look at situation 3, which is my own example. Here, speaker A asks, "How do I submit the assignment?" And speaker B replies, "Just upload the PDF on Clip and click the submit button." In this interaction, B's response is very clear and straightforward. There is no confusing wording, no unnecessary details, and no ambiguity. B directly answers the question in a simple way that A can easily follow. Because of this, speaker B is actually observing the maxim of manner, which emphasizes being clear, orderly, and easy to understand, and this automatically creates effective communication.
Hello everyone, so now we will dive into implicature. Next, let's talk about what implicature actually means. So according to Flowerdell 2012, implicature refers to the non-literal or additional meaning of an utterance, something that is not said directly, but we can still understand it through the context and by assuming that the speaker is following the cooperative principle. In simpler words, implicature is what the speaker implies rather than what they explicitly say. We interpret the hidden meaning based on the situation. Greece also explained that people do not always follow the conversational maxims strictly, and that is normal. But when someone does break a maxim, there is usually a meaningful reason behind it. This is where implicature happens. As John 2024 mentions, breaking a maxim often signals an additional message that the speaker wants to convey indirectly. So, implicature helps us understand the deeper or intended meaning behind everyday conversations. Now, let's look at how we actually recognize a conversational implicature. According to Greece, understanding an implicature isn't something automatic. It requires the listener to rely on several important elements. First, we depend on the conversational meaning of the words used, including who or what the speaker is referring to. This is the basic, literal meaning that forms the starting point. Second, we rely on the cooperative principle and its maxim. Even when a maxim is broken, we still assume the speaker is trying to cooperate, and this helps us search for the implied meaning. Third, context plays a crucial role. This can include the linguistic context, such as what was said earlier, or the broader situation in which the conversation takes place. And finally, we use our background knowledge, everything we know about the word, the people involved, and typical social situations. By combining these 4 elements, listeners are able to interpret what the speaker truly means, even when it does not say directly. We will take a look at a few examples of implicature that happens in a few situations. In this situation, A asks, "Can you come to see me tomorrow?" And B replies, "I have got a meeting." At first, B's answer doesn't seem directly related to the question. A is expecting a clear yes or no. Instead, B gives extra information that doesn't explicitly answer the questions. Because of this, B is actually violating the maxim of relevance, which states that a speaker's response should be directly connected to the questions being asked. However, even though the answer is not directly relevant, A can still interpret the implicature behind B's reply. By saying, I have got a meeting, B is indirectly communicating a negative answer, meaning that B cannot come to the meeting. For situation 2, the interviewer asks very direct questions. In a word, should the finance minister resign? However, the oppositional politician does not give a direct yes or no. Instead, he replies, well, I think he himself must think the untenability of his position. This answer is not straightforward. It is vague and avoids giving a simple response. Because of this, the politician is violating the maxim of manners, which requires speakers to be clear, brief, and ambiguous. But even though the reply is indirect, the interviewer and we as listener can still understand the implication behind it. By saying that the finance minister position is untenable, the politician is implying that the minister should resign without explicitly saying it. So here, the maxim of manner is broken, but the violation actually helps the listener to uncover the intended meaning. The finance minister should step down.
These are the references we have used in this project. Thank you everyone. Bye!